Hey everyone, let's talk about something that's quietly shaping the news you read every single day. And I'm talking about artificial intelligence. It's not some far off concept. It's already here, it's incredibly powerful, and a lot of the time you probably don't even know you're seeing it. So let's get right into it.
Okay, so let me just ask you this straight up. Is a robot writing your news? I know, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, right? But the crazy thing is, the answer is yeah. A lot of the time it is. We're talking everything from financial reports to the latest sports scores. AI is already deep inside the newsroom, and believe me, its influence is growing faster than you can imagine.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll meet this robot in the newsroom. Then we'll look at the good stuff, faster, cheaper news, and the not so good stuff, the real dangers of automation. We'll also touch on what this all means for democracy. And finally, we'll look at what the future could hold, a team up between humans and machines. All right, let's kick things off with our first section, the robot in the newsroom. And I really want to stress this point. This isn't some what-if scenario for 10 years down the road. This is happening right now. It's the reality today in some of the biggest, most influential news organizations on the planet.
Okay, so the term you need to know here is robo-journalism. It sounds a little dramatic, but it's actually pretty simple. It's basically using AI to write news stories automatically, and this is key, it works best with structured data. Stuff that follows a really predictable pattern. Think of it like filling in a template. Things like a company's quarterly earnings report or the final box score of a game, perfect for an algorithm.
And just so we're clear, this isn't some little side project happening in a garage somewhere. We're talking about the heavy hitters. The Associated Press, they've been doing this since 2014, automating thousands of financial reports. Bloomberg News has their own system they call Cyborg, doing pretty much the same thing. And here's the kicker. Even if you think you've never read an AI-written article, I can almost guarantee you've had an article recommended to you by an AI. They're everywhere. So, you might be wondering, what's the big rush? Why is every newsroom jumping on this bandwagon? Well, it's definitely not just because it's cool tech. There are some huge, tangible benefits here. We're talking about the promise of making news faster, way cheaper, and, in some ways, even smarter. First off, let's talk speed. An AI can crank out a basic earnings report in like seconds. What that does is free up human journalists to do the stuff that really matters, right? The deep dive investigations, the powerful interviews, the things a machine just can't do. On top of that, AI can sift through these gigantic datasets and spot trends a human might miss. It can be a lifeline for smaller newsrooms trying to compete, and it can even be a weapon in the fight against fake news online. It's a seriously powerful tool. And just to give you a sense of the sheer scale we're talking about, it's not like a dozen articles here and there. No, it's thousands. The Associated Press by themselves automates over 3,000 financial reports every single quarter. That's work that used to take up countless hours of a human journalist's time. I mean, that efficiency is just mind-blowing. It's the huge promise of AI. But it also begs a really important question. With all that speed and so little human oversight, what happens when things go wrong? And that question leads us perfectly into our next section, the perils of automation. Because when you're dealing with that kind of power, that kind of speed, the risks and the things you didn't see coming they can be really, really serious. And look, this isn't just some hypothetical fear. This has actually happened. Back in 2023, the tech site CNET decided to give this a try. They experimented with using AI to write full-on articles, and it was a total disaster. They ended up having to issue major corrections on a whole bunch of articles because they were just riddled with huge factual errors. The AI wasn't just wrong, it was literally just making stuff up. So this timeline here really tells the story perfectly. You can see how it started back in 2014. The AP used it for a really specific, narrow task, automating reports from clean, structured data. And it worked great. But then, as the ambition got bigger, as people tried to get AI to write more complex, nuanced articles, like the CNET experiment, the risk of failure of these AI hallucinations, as they're called, just shot through the roof. And this really gets to the heart of the whole debate. Look, AI is absolutely brilliant at crunching numbers and spotting patterns at a speed we can't even comprehend. But what it's missing is everything that makes human journalism so essential. It doesn't understand context or nuance. It can't make an ethical judgment call. It has zero empathy for the people in a story. And maybe most importantly, there's no accountability. You can't fire an algorithm for getting it wrong, but you can and should hold a journalist responsible. So if we boil it all down, these are the big worries. 1, job losses, especially for those just starting out. 2, the accuracy problem. AI just plain making things up. 3, hidden biases baked right into the code. And 4, this kind of creepy possibility that if everyone uses the same AI, all our news could become this bland, homogenized mush. And these concerns, they're not just inside baseball for the media industry. Not at all. This forces us to have a much, much bigger conversation about AI, journalism, and the health of our democracy. This is really where it stops being about technology and starts being about society, about all of us. I mean, let's just take a step back and remember what journalism is supposed to do. A free and independent press is, without a doubt, a pillar of any functioning democracy. Its whole job is to keep us informed and to hold power accountable.
And when you start to automate that critical function, well, you're introducing some pretty big systemic risks into the equation.
Okay, risk number one, misinformation on steroids. Just imagine that faulty AI that CNET used, but instead of writing a few dozen articles, it's cranking out thousands every single hour. It could literally flood our information ecosystem with lies and errors, spreading falsehoods faster than an army of human fact-checkers could ever hope to keep up with. It's like trying to clean up an oil spill with a teaspoon. And that leads to risk number two, the complete erosion of public trust. Let's be honest, trust in the media is already pretty shaky for a lot of people. Now, what happens if you can't even tell if what you're reading was written by a person who did the work or a machine that just spat out some text? The danger is that people will just throw their hands up and decide to not trust any of it. And that's a really dangerous place to be. Which all boils down to this really tough, really messy question that nobody has a good answer for yet. Who's on the hook when an AI messes up? When an AI publishes something that's totally false and maybe even harmful, who takes the blame? Is it the news outlet that published it? The editor who was supposed to check it? The giant tech company that built the AI in the first place? Right now, it's just a huge question mark. Okay, so where does that leave us? Is the future of news just a mess of glitchy robots and zero trust? Well, it doesn't have to be. In fact, the most likely, and probably the best path forward, is a kind of partnership. A hybrid model that combines the very best of what humans can do with the very best of what machines can do. The newsroom of the future will probably look something like this. You see that biggest chunk? That's still going to be people. Human-led investigations, storytelling, that's not going anywhere. But look at the other parts. A big slice is AI helping with research, and then a smaller piece is the fully automated stuff, like those financial reports we talked about. The key word here isn't replacement, it's augmentation. It's about giving journalists superpowers. But, and this is a big but, to get to that future safely, we absolutely need some guardrails, a strong ethical framework. So what does that look like? Well, first, just label the stuff. Be upfront with readers when an article is AI generated or even just AI assisted. Second, newsrooms need to be transparent about what tools they're using and how. And third, we need to create new rules for this new reality, new ethical codes, something that groups like the European Journalism Center are already working hard on. So we'll leave you with this final thought, which is really the central challenge here. AI is an incredible tool for efficiency. It's faster, it's cheaper, but the main goal of journalism was never just to be efficient. It's to find and report the truth. And figuring out how to make sure this amazing technology serves the truth, not just the bottom line, well, that's not just on journalists or tech companies. That's a responsibility we all share as people who rely on good information to make sense of the world.